guys, my name is Cheyenne Creech, and I'm here today with Texas author Lela Suttee.
Hi.
And today we're going to be talking about her new book that she's come out with. And Lela, this is your second book, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So we're just going to ask her a few questions that we have, and she's just going to talk to us a little bit about her new book that is out. Okay, Lela, so our first question is, when did you first realize that you wanted to be a writer?
Well, it's kind of interesting. At first, it really wasn't the idea that I wanted to be a writer, as opposed to I had a story in my head that I've had for over 35 years. When I was little, my mother, when she'd see an old house, she would say, "Oh, look at that old house. I bet it has a story." And so I thought, why not write a book where the house is telling the story? The house is narrating. And I'd even thought about my first story. In fact, my first book, the first story in it, named Elijah, I have had that story in my head for over 35 years. And at first I thought it was going to be the whole novel. But then as I began writing, then it changed to short stories.
My second question is, how long does it typically take for you to write a book?
Well, of course, there's a lot of preliminary things, thinking up the stories, getting the ideas in your head. But from the time that I started writing my first book till when I finished the first 3 stories, short stories, it was 9 months. So I call it my baby.
That's awesome.
And then the second book, which is also, it's volume 2 of the series, which is called If Houses Could Talk, or the Stories They Would Tell. And my second one took around the same time, as far as when I began writing it till I finished.
Your 2 kids.
Yeah.
My third question, is there a certain place that you go to write?
Well, we are sitting right in it. This is the place that I do all my creativity. I do scrapbooking, sewing, beading, and this is where I do my writing, and of course my office work for my husband, and all of that right here.
Now, you guys, this space is so cute. She has just the perfect lighting in here, which I'm loving, and she has the cutest little futon, and you also have pictures of the houses too.
Mm-hmm.
I see on your wall there.
Yes.
And
that's from my first 2 books. It inspires me.
That's good, and that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something you do while you're writing that helps you?
Well, it's as much as getting ready to write. The mood has to be set. But something that always helps me is, I believe that words are very powerful. So I love sayings, and I love quotes that different authors have said through the years. And so if you'll notice right behind you, there is a bulletin board, and it is packed full of different sayings that inspired me. For instance, when I was writing my first book, there's to some degree some, you're scared when you're writing your first book, second book, or whatever.
I can imagine.
Because you're going to put your work out there for people to see. And so sometimes it's a little scary. So I have this saying up here that says, what if I fail? And then it says, but oh darling, what if you fly? And I would remember that every time I would get scared and, oh, I can't do this, Sometimes I wanted to throw the pages across the room.
Talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. And but then I would remember that. And then another one that I really love is, don't die with your song still inside you. And so it was very important to me I had a song. I had these stories were in my heart and on my mind. In fact, the lady that helped me, that's what her saying was, that all of us have a book in our head or on our heart, and we need to get it out and on the page. And so that's what kept me going, kept me inspiring. And really, it's just the process of sentence after sentence, word after word, just keep going.
So Lela, what is your favorite book right now?
My favorite book right now, and has been for quite some time, is The Help. I love that book. I've always loved triumph over tragedy stories, and I just loved the whole premise of that story.
Who's your favorite character from a book?
Well, again, from that book, I loved Skeeter. I mean, to me, she portrayed what I really feel in my heart, that all people are created equal. And it doesn't matter their color, it doesn't matter their lot in life, it doesn't matter, their looks. We're all created equal, and we're all loved by God, and we should respect each other for that.
Mm-hmm.
And she respected the black women that were in her life, and she didn't care what other people around her said about it.
Mm-hmm.
She defended them and gave them a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that. That book was what inspired me to write my story in volume 2. It's called Esther and Jubilee. And it's about a widowed black woman and a widowed white woman that are living in a plantation home. And of course, everybody thinks it's just horrible that a white person and a black person live together. And then the house goes back in time and tells their story of how they became friends and what they had to go through in order to keep their friendship.
What was your hope for those who read your book? What's your hope that your readers get?
Well, at first it was all about the story, making sure I told a good story, entertaining story with all kinds of emotions. But as I began writing, it's almost like as if the stories took on their own story, if you will. That began writing themselves. And I realized then that what I wanted my stories to do is teach lessons, vital lessons that we can all learn that would better us as people.
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's really good. Will you be doing another book in this series?
Yes, I want to at least do a trilogy in If Houses Could Talk. I don't know. Like I said, sometimes the stories start writing themselves, so for right now, yes, I want to do a trilogy, but there could be more. I also love poetry and write poetry myself, and there's many in my family, my sister, my 2 daughters, my niece, that all write poems, and so I would kind of like later on, if possible, we'll see, if it remain to be seen, but I would like to write a book of poetry and put all my family's poems in it and call it A Family of Poets.
I love that. That is so adorable. And I know I've actually read some of her poems she shared with me, and they are really fantastic. So Lela, do you have a picture that inspires you for your characters?
Yes, there has been a few in times past that I have pictured that would look like just like the character that I wrote about. And in fact, there's one picture that I have in my living room. It was a wedding gift from my mother. I loved it. I've always loved little pictures of little girls. And my mother gave this to me for my wedding gift. And the story in volume 1, the last one, it's called Amelia. It's about a little deaf girl. I even painted a scene in the story of this picture.
Oh, that's beautiful. So can we see this picture?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Well, this is the picture that I was talking about. It's an actual painting. My mother got it. I've had it for 35 years. It's a little girl, and she's got a basket of flowers, and she's kind of like in a field of flowers. I named her Amelia after my character. And there is a part in the story of Amelia where she's actually in a field of flowers like this, picking flowers and putting them in a pretty basket. And so I always know what Amelia looks like.
So Lela, what would you say to someone who wants to write? Do you have any encouraging words that have helped you during your writing period?
Well, I believe that you have to have people behind you that believe in you, but you have to believe in you. And the things that helped me was, the many sayings that I have around me. And also, all of writing a book consists of is sentence after sentence, page after page, chapter after chapter. So don't get caught up in how long it takes you. Get just every day, do something toward it, and you will realize your goal. And then put it out there. Like it says here, don't die with your song still inside you. And put it on paper. Even if, let's say you don't get famous over your books, there's still a legacy that you're leaving behind, your kids, your grandkids, and those that loved you, that will always be here. And it's something that you can call your own, and that you can be proud of, regardless of its outcome. And so just get it on paper, and write it and put it out there. You won't know until you try. My name is Lela Suttee, and I am an author of 2 books called If Houses Could Talk, Oh, the Stories They Would Tell. My books are written from the perspective of the house. This is volume 1, and I published it in 2015, and it has 3 short stories in it. Then, just recently, I published volume 2, If Houses Could Talk, All the Stories They Would Tell. And in this one is 2 new stories, and then 1 story is coming back from my first book. So you might want to get them both. But I thought I would just take a brief moment to share with you just an excerpt from my book. And it says, I'm a 2-story plantation home perched on a hill near the town of Eufaula, Alabama. Down the road a piece is Eufaula Lake that was formed on the Chattahoochee River. Surrounding me is some of the prettiest countryside on God's green earth. You wouldn't know by looking at me, but I'm pert near 85 years old. I've been the home of the Sutton family for some 3 generations now. It's 1947, and living inside my walls are 2 elderly women, Esther Sutton Walker and Jubilee Jones Davis. Many of the townspeople frown on the idea of white folks and black folks living under the same roof, but Esther and Jubilee pay them no mind, because they've been friends since they were youngins. Their friendship has spanned some 70 years despite the hardships it has caused them. So let's venture back in time to the beginning of my story. And in each of my books, I also wrote a poem. And I'd like to read the poem from my second book. It's called Memories of an Old House. It says, I'm old, abandoned, and falling down. My once steady piers are sinking into the ground. The creaks in my frame are growing louder each day. I know my walls will soon give way. In my loneliness, I often reminisce about the family who I truly miss. They built me with their own hands and gave me life. I was their haven and home through happiness and strife. I can still hear the little girls that live within my walls, running, laughing, and playing with their dolls. The parents visiting in my kitchen without a care, with the smell of brewing coffee filling the air. Talking about their hopes and their dreams, only a short time ago it seems. Yet many years have gone by. Some of the family has left and some of them has died. I cherish my memories of long ago, because deep down in my frame I know that even though I am made of nails and wood, my life has truly been good. So I hope that you can go on my website, ifhousescouldtalk.com, and you will see a place where you can order them straight off of Amazon.com. I hope you enjoy them. Happy reading!